Okay, so it's taken a very long time to dry, and my battery actually cut out at some point when I was doing the dots. So what I have done, I have basically measured, if I just show you my Mr. Darcy. So this is my Traveler's Notebook, and that's the palette insert that I'm doing it for. Be very, very careful when you're working with these. They're super concentrated, they're like inks. When you get them on something, it's impossible to get out. So be very careful with leather, your desk, anything. So you have to work on a craft mat 100%. So if you don't have a craft mat, make sure you put something on your desk. So this is the size I'm working. So this is a B6, right? And so that's the size I'm looking at. So I measured that it's roughly, I think 17.5 by 12.5, but I made mine a bit smaller, so 17 by 12. And I'm going to cut them out. And what I'm trying to create is similar to this, but this time with a swatch thing next to it, because it's hard to understand what colors truly these are. I mean, I know scarlet and I know some of the colors very well, but the pinks are very difficult to see their true color when they're so concentrated, so you can see that you do need a swatch list. And that's what I've done here. I'm also going to go ahead and write the names down here as well, although probably I don't need it if I have the swatch list, but it kind of looks a little bit empty at the moment, so I'm in two minds what to do with it. So I'm going to go ahead and cut them. They're still wet, so I hope I'm not going to mess this up. I used the heat gun, I have waited a while, so it seems that on this cellulose paper it just takes way too long, and just for that reason I feel that I prefer it on the watercolor paper. So I'm just trying, which is a little bit difficult. I think I'm going to take this out. I'm just trying to cut this a little bit bigger, just because I will trim it with my trimmer. I cannot cut a straight line. I don't know what it is, but no matter how hard I try, it always ends up being leaning to the side. So I'm just not going to even try it. So here we go. I've done a rough cut here, trying to be extremely careful. It's good to keep these scraps just for little swatches here and there. And so I'm going to get my... God, drawing them is really painful. It just takes so long. I had to go in and do the heat gun again, just because the yellow was still not drying, and it's like, look at that, these are still a little bit wet. Anyway, I'm just going to now, and also when you dry them, the paper will kind of bend a little bit, but once it cools down it straightens again, so don't worry about that. I am going to now try and cut these in the middle, like so, and then I'm going to do these as well. Okay, so for this next part you will need washi tape of your choice, and you will need acetate. Now you might not have acetate. I didn't have, and I had to order it separately, obviously. So you could do also vellum or tracing paper, commonly known, which is okay, but it kind of makes things look a little bit matte. But if that's something you don't mind, you can totally go with that. Also keep in mind that if you get any moisture near vellum, it will kind of buckle a little bit. So if you don't mind that, then that's okay. But I prefer it with acetate, because if I just show you a comparison, here you get a completely clear picture, and then that would be quite muted. So here we go. So you'll need to basically, I'm going to do it, you can do it whichever way you want. You could potentially make it like a book like this, or the other way around, and then you could maybe put like a little illustration on here, and then just kind of flip it open and just have one piece of acetate in between of them. So you could do it like that, or you could place them one next to the other and put two, no, you don't need two, just put one acetate on top of these. So these need to be protected by acetate, these obviously don't, because you're not going to wet them. And then if you need to check what color it is, you could just kind of flip and give yourself an idea, because this way I have them open and I can put them on my desk or wherever I am on the go, and I just open them up and I can paint from them. If they were done like this, it means I would need more space to open them up, if that makes sense. So you do it the way you prefer it. I'm going to do what seems most practical to me, and I'm just going to get, so I went ahead and I cut it to size. So what I'm going to do is basically, okay, so unfortunately there are two issues this time, is the card getting full, and also on the verge batteries to die. So I basically all I've done is, first I opened this like a book, and then I put a washi tape along here, because that makes it sit nice and flat, the two pages over one another. And then secondly, I have taken another strip of washi tape and then adhered the back and the top page, if that makes sense, and that is it. So it's only two washi tapes, and it's yeah, it looks perfect. So I'm going to demonstrate to you how it's going to sit in my, let me just find one here as a free. So I'm going to open in the middle and then just insert it like this, and that is it. And so I now have a little portable palette, which is super neat and very fun to have. And the juniper green is very smudgeable, so even though it's completely dry, it just moves a lot. So here I thought it was completely dry and it made a mess again, but it doesn't really matter. So as you can see, it's still doing that right here. So yeah, so that's how you would use it. You would get some paint of this, and then if you need to look at the colors, you look at them on the next page. And so I would recommend to keep an extra piece of acetate if you want to use it as a palette. I'm going to stick one here because it's a good place for me, but make sure you don't make too much mess, because obviously if you're going to open up the pages and them sticking together, it's going to make a bit of a mess. Even though it's acetate and you can wipe it, just be aware of it. And I was just going to show you how you then can go ahead and use this palette. Just going to go into cherry red, and there you go. I'm going to go into persimmon, and a bit of scarlet. So all these colors are very, very beautiful. Yeah, so that's my little portable palette. Do give them a little bit of time to dry before you close the acetate, because I had some transferals, and if you don't mind that, then that's fine, because you're not going to see it once you close it. It's going to lay on top, if that makes sense. but if you want to keep it nice and clean, either wipe it or just use the paint of the acetate as well. I hope you found this video useful, and yeah, I think it's a neat idea to just kind of make the Dr. P.H. Martin's Radiant watercolors be on the go as well, because they're quite big and heavy to carry, as they're obviously glass bottles. And yeah, so that way you can use them when you're on the go. Thanks for watching. See you soon.